Hello friends, it's Miley Lang. I'm creating this video for studying for the NARM written examination. The first thing on the test specifications is applies understanding of social determinants of health, which are income, literacy, education, sanitation, housing, and environmental hazards, food security, common threats to health. So first is in I think what NARM is asking us to be proficient in is the application of the knowledge of those things to the way we care for our clients. So we're going to knowing these kinds of things and knowing where our client is as far as where do they live, what is their income, what is their education. These are kinds of things that we would gather on the intake forms anyway, so it wouldn't be something that's like I mean, that's the most comfortable way to gather this information, and it just enables us to care for them in the way that they need to be cared for. So personal incomes are going to vary. General costs of living are going to vary depending on the geographical location that you're in. The education levels are going to vary, and even among those, like, you know, somebody might have a bachelor's degree and they're homeless, or somebody might have a master's degree and really know nothing about diet and nutrition. You know, like we have to think about the like asking these kinds of questions in our appointments with our clients, so that we can know how best to cater the care. If somebody is illiterate, we're going to need to cater the care to that. So explain things a lot more simply and ask them to repeat back to you what they understand about it. If you're dealing with a person who has like English as a second language and really doesn't speak I guess your primary language, maybe it's a different language, but if they don't speak your primary language, you may need to hire an interpreter to come and be a part of the care team, so that that person is fully informed about what you're trying to educate them on and what involves, I should say, what all is involved in the care. So let's see here. So you can go. So all of the NARM questions they have answers that are backed up by 2 textbooks that are all, you know, all of the sources that they get their information from are listed at the end of these written test specifications in the candidate information booklet. And so look in those textbooks for answers to any of these written test specifications, and that way you'll be getting good information that you can actually use to get a good score on the NARM. So, and of course to take better care of your clients. So, let's see. I want to bring up one thing that I found in Miles' textbook for midwives is that there's mention of the first 1,000 days of that are like from conception to the second birthday of the baby. And those first 1,000 days are very crucial for giving very thorough and good information and education to the client and their family or support team that helps nurture the relationships involved in that first, the childbearing year and the year after, that kind of thing. So, all right, and then another thing is sanitation. So we want to be thinking about, when you go to home visits, think about where it is, have the parents think about where it is they want to set aside a spot for the baby to be born, and make sure that that spot stays clean. like some people are impeccable about cleanliness and others have a little more lax attitude about it. And so you'll have to just kind of, either way, you can just say, where's the side that you want to, kind of preserve for the baby. And let's see here. So housing is important to consider as well, not only for like, setting up birth equipment and being aware of where we want to birth baby, but also it's a social determinant of health, meaning like sometimes, and really, I wish they would go back to the term risk factors because because where we live doesn't always determine how healthy we are, I guess is what I'm saying, but it does correlate statistically speaking. And so we want to be aware of those things. And if you are living in like if you're living in, let's say, like a tall apartment building where everybody shares the same air circulation, filtration might not be like good enough to filter out, say, a cold virus or something, or a flu virus. So somebody on level 3 gets sick, you might get sick too, or there might be mold in the building, or there's other things, and that kind of goes into environmental hazards as well. So, but what area of the geographical area does your client live in? Those kinds of things can help you kind of determine, okay, so maybe I need to adjust my care this way and not expect that she's going to have a ton of room for me to set up or something like that. Let's see. Or she might be in an area where there's, statistically more lower income population right there. And so that might also, kind of tell you, okay, I also know that the crime rate is a little bit high there, or I know that, whatever. It's just that there's things that you could miss if you're not considering the housing situation. Okay, so all right, so environmental hazards. You want to think about where your client works. Do they work in a place where they have to lift a lot? Do they work in a place where there's a lot of chemicals being released into the air? Do they work in a place like a pet store where they're going to be around cat and bird feces a lot? Or do they own cats and dogs, or birds and cats that maybe they're going to need a family member to be the one that takes care of the litter or the cleaning out of the cage. So and then there's are they around or in buildings that contain asbestos or lead, that kind of a thing. Another environmental hazard. Let's see here. Are they living in highly polluted areas? What are they doing to take care of their respiratory health if they are? And maybe they are living, say, like in Seattle, where they don't get very much sunshine, or they're in a job where they're at a desk all day and they don't get lots of sunshine. You're going to need to take that into consideration, because we know that affects vitamin D levels, which also affect other things. So affects other things related to health. So, and then food security is another one that's crucial for pregnancy, of course. You got to think about, does she grow her own food? Does she rely on the grocery store for her food? Does she have a steady income that she has access to, that, she can purchase food, and that kind of thing. So it's sometimes a little bit hard to take all these things into consideration as midwives, where we're, we do want our focus to be on, building a good pregnancy through building a good body through good foods, right? So if that is a challenge, you need to kind of cater the care that you give to your client accordingly. So, It's also important to take into account like the current events going on. You know, maybe there's a large supply, or sorry, a large demand that the supply is not able to meet yet, or maybe there is a trucker strike or convoy going on or something that might affect the supplies that are available at a grocery store. Or gas prices, right? They still need to get to work, but maybe that is cutting into their food budget a little because gas prices are going up. Or, you know, whatever. That's just current, and I'm sure this video will be watched when it's not happening, but anyway. Then there's common threats to health, and I think a lot of those would be like sexually transmitted diseases, violence, domestic partner violence, abuse, mental illness. There's tons of mental illness. I mean, like, and that can be a threat to health. I mean, depression is not something that's conducive to good health. And cold and flu. There's, you know, things like yeast and bacterial infections. Maybe think about, and this goes back into the sanitation, like do they have clean water? Do they have access to clean water? That's another thing to think about, because you will need clean water and they will need clean water. Everybody needs clean water, right? So yeah, again, understanding and applying applies understanding of these things. So that would just mean to provide care in a way that caters to them and their specific situations that they're in. And then also providing, you know, like, especially, I just want to reiterate, providing an interpreter for those who really can't understand English that well, and especially medical words. Sometimes people understand English just fine, but then when it comes to anatomy or that kind of thing, or applying instructions you give them during childbirth or something, that those can get tricky. So you will need to have somebody there that can interpret for them. And then also providing like resources that could be of help to the client in any given situation that we listed above. These can be like community-based or government-based or whatever. So, all right, so that's the first section on the written test specifications for the NARM written exam. Please let me know if I forgot anything. And if you open your textbook, like, oh, I think it's a good idea. Don't use this as a substitute for you looking into your textbooks and finding out if what I'm saying is true. And maybe you're going to find some totally different information or new information. And please share it in the comments, because then we all can learn. So thank you.